Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Road to an Effective Classroom Environment, where we explore strategies that empower educators and inspire students. I am your host, Dr. Lashawnte, also known as the Classy Sassy Consultant, and today's episode is all about the power of positive talk, how the words we use with our students and colleagues can transform the culture of our schools. So let's jump into this conversation right now. So, we're going to take a look at why positive talk matters. We will discuss positive talk in regards to our students and our staff. And then we're going to leave with some strategies for implementation. So, let's get started. So, why is positive talk important? Why does it matter? Positive talk is important on every level of education and just in our lives in general, because the more that you center your lives with positivity, the better you feel. Even if you are struggling in some aspect of your life, as long as you are keeping positive words in the forefront, that is going to continue to encourage you to do better and to be better. So in our classrooms, words create that atmosphere for what our classrooms are going to be like. So if we are using positive language, then we are going to have positive classrooms. Now, does that mean that you're going to have everything always is going to be perfect and the kids are going to come in like little soldiers and do what they're supposed to do? No. But what it does develop, what is developing in that classroom is a sense of connectedness, where students feel as if they belong. So words create the atmosphere for the classroom. So you can either have words of encouragement and kindness, or you can have words of negativity and meanness. And that is what your classroom is going to look like, because it becomes what you say it is and what words are being put out there. Positive talk, it reinforces dignity, belonging, and motivation. When our students feel that they are seen, when they feel that their teacher acknowledges who he or she is, then they're going to be more motivated to come in and do the work. They're going to feel as if they belong in that classroom. Their dignities are in check when they walk through that door, because they know no one's going to bring them down, or the teacher's not going to allow someone to attack their character or attack them in that room. So positive talk helps to develop a positive culture. So research shows that students who thrive in environments where encouragement outweighs correction, they thrive. They do truly thrive. There is a study that was done in 2018. This study was published in the Educational Psychology Journal. And what the study found is that students with a strong sense of belonging, they're more likely to engage in learning, participate in class, and develop positive relationships with their teachers. Now, on the flip side of that, a lack of belonging can lead to feelings of isolation, decreased motivation, and a higher risk of dropping out. So, positive talk, does it matter? It really does. It really does. Staff morale could also rise when leaders and colleagues, they use affirmation and recognition rather than criticism. So, in the educational world, we as leaders, our colleagues, those who work with us, we all should be doing the same thing inside the classroom as well as outside. And that is using positive language, lifting and encouraging others, using affirmations in our daily routines, and then giving more recognition rather than criticism. There is a way to give criticism where it's constructive. Constructive criticism does not tear someone down, but sometimes we may use criticism in such a way that we are no longer building up our staff members. And as leaders and as educators in general, We want to build people up. If someone needs assistance, they need support or help in a particular area, there are ways to let people know I can help you without tearing down someone's character. When you think about positive talk, you're thinking about language that is encouraging, that is motivating, that is helping someone to see that he or she will be successful no matter what they are doing. So I want you to think about the last time someone said to you, I believe in you. When was that last time? When did someone say, I see you, I believe in you, I know you can do it? Because that statement, I see you, I believe you, those statements, they carry power. And not only do they carry power in the classrooms, but they carry power in our lives. These phrases, they are life-changing phrases. So let's talk about specifically positive talk with our students and what that looks like. So in our classrooms, when we are giving directives to our students, let's say that you have students who are talking, you want to replace the negative directive of you're saying to them, stop talking, stop talking, stop talking. Instead of saying stop talking, use a more positive prompt and saying, let's focus together. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. That even works in the high school classrooms. Some of these positive prompts, many teachers may think, oh, this is only for elementary school. But the way you use it, you can put a spin on it to where, it even sounds good using it in a high school classroom or a middle school classroom. So changing those negative directives into positive prompts, that's one way we can have that positive language going in our classrooms. Also using affirmations. I've seen classrooms in which affirmations are all over the walls, along with content anchor charts. But affirmations, when you're walking into a room and you have affirmations all around, students, they read those whenever they're, doing their work. Sometimes, students may focus and look at the walls because that's pretty much all that they have to look at other than you and the work in front of them. So to see an affirmation on the wall that they can read, that helps them to still keep some positivity going in their whole attitude by being able to see those things. You may see affirmations outside of the classrooms, just in the buildings in general. And buildings that have affirmations around, these buildings tend to be on the brink of having a culture that is manifested in positivity. You can use affirmations in your daily language with your students while they're working, when they're coming through the door. You know what? I like what you did with your homework. That was some creative thinking. Thank you for showing up and being persistent until you found the right answer. I see the effort. I see that you're trying, and I'm here to help you. These are also affirmations that can be verbalized. So not only having the visuals, but also being able to say these affirmations in your classroom are important. Encourage student voice. Students should have the opportunity to be able to share in the classroom. They should be able to have the opportunity to lead discussions, lead activities, and also have time to reflect. All of this is embedded in your lesson plans. Your lesson plans should show where your students are able to talk with each other, share ideas, and even have those who are able to lead in a discussion, in a lesson. When I was in the classroom, there were times in which I allowed my students to teach a lesson, to teach part of a lesson. And so that helps to build confidence, that helps with their public speaking. But also that reflective piece is important, giving students the opportunity to reflect back on the work that they did in class so they can figure out and to inform you what is it that they got, what did they understand, and what did they need to work on. So those are important elements to student voice, is having them to be able to share, to lead, and to reflect. And then a strategy for those that may be struggling with positive talk. If you're struggling with how to use that in your classroom or even in your daily life, then here's a simple practice that you can be involved with. Practice the 5-to-1 ratio. 5-to-1 means that every corrective statement that you have to make, that you give 5 affirming ones or supportive statements behind that. So if you have to tell your class to stop talking, um, but you put it in such a way, let's focus together. So you want to make sure that you have something behind that language that's also supportive or affirming. Whether that's if you once the class has stopped talking, you may find 5 different students that you're able to give some positive feedback to or be able to encourage them to answer a question. And you don't have to focus so much on the number, because many times when you see you may see strategies, and anything in a strategy that has a number with it, you may get yourself so off track that you're no longer thinking about the work that you're doing. So don't get so focused and involved in 5-to-1. But the strategy that you want to use is that if you have to give a corrective statement in class or give a corrective statement with your students, make sure that you have time to give some type of supportive statement or affirming statement behind that. That way, it doesn't feel as if students don't feel as if they're being beat down for what they're doing, whether it's something that they needed correcting or whether it's something that they may not be able to help. So that is a simple strategy. So don't focus so much on 5-to-1, but focus on for every corrective statement, give an affirming one. All right. Now, let's look at positive talk with our staff, with our adults. Sometimes this can be an area in which we have to do more practice with, or we have to reflect and reflect each day to say, okay, did I say the best thing I could have said to everyone I came in contact with? So that reflection, again, reflection is so very important. But here are some things to think about when we're talking about positive talk amongst our staff. Model positivity in professional conversations. So just as you will give positive comments to your students when they're doing well, you want to do the same thing with staff. Thank you for your input. I value your perspective. You know what? I wasn't thinking about this, but I appreciate you giving me this idea. I'm going to ponder on this for a while. So in professional conversations, give that positive language, put that positive language in your conversations. Now, another big area when it comes to positive talk, is a big area, but it may seem so small to others. But celebrate your staff. As leaders, we need to celebrate our staff and give them the opportunity to tell us what are some great things that they have going on in our meetings. Starting out the meeting with positive talk, what that looks like is share some good news with me. What are some good things that have been happening in your classroom? What are some good things that are happening in your life? Did you get engaged? Are you getting married? Did you have a grandchild? Starting off your meetings in such a way that you're celebrating them before delving into the work and talking about district initiatives and talking about what direction the school is going in, but celebrating people for who they are and for what they have accomplished, or what are some things that have happened with them and to them that they want to share with their members, their colleagues of that particular school or school system. And another part of this, if you have where your staff is reluctant to do these things, that's a whole nother podcast episode that we'll talk about at another time. But make sure that in your meetings, you want to celebrate your staff, acknowledge their innovations in the classroom, acknowledge that they have been resilient, they've been coming to work, recognize those teachers and staff who have perfect attendance so far. And then also recognize when they are collaborating together, but celebrate those small wins. Next, another way to continue that positive language is to get out of the mindset of always talking problem centered. When your language is involved with being problem centered, oh, we can't do this because we don't have enough money, or the students are just not going to buy into this because we've tried this one time before. That's problem centered language. Replace that language with solution focused language. The students will thrive, they will do, because we have a plan. We're going to set things up this way. That way, our students will be successful. It may look as if we do not have money at this time for this project, but we know that there are sponsors out there who are willing to invest in us. Shifting from problem centered language to solution focused language, that is one way to have the positive talk within the discussions that we have with our staff. And then lastly, create a culture where colleagues, they uplift one another, whether that they are doing peer shout outs, shouting each other out. You can have shout out boards in every room where staff come together, whether it's in their planning rooms, it's in their cafeteria. If you have a certain area where staff eat and it's only the adults, you can have a shout out board, shout out wall all across your school. That's not only for our students, because we talk about shout outs and we talk about, affirming our students, but we also want to shout out our adults. So creating that culture, having peers where they're shouting each other out and saying what is something good that they saw in another part of the building that had nothing to do with their classroom, but they saw it. Gratitude walls. This is not just for Thanksgiving. We think of gratitude when we hear that word. Some people automatically think Thanksgiving. Every day is Thanksgiving. Every day is a Thanksgiving. So having gratitude walls, I appreciate that that teacher A saw that I did not have my board on the outside of the room put together, and teacher A came and asked me if I needed assistance. Gratitude walls, simple sentences that you put up where you recognize others for what they've done, or just having gratitude in being alive. Gratitude that I work at the best school in this school district. So gratitude walls, another way of creating a culture where other staff members, they're uplifting each other. And then sometimes just our moments of recognition. We have programs in which we recognize our students. So who's to say we can't have a program to recognize our staff? We can have our own programs in which we have certificates and we have prizes that we give out to recognize them for the work that they're doing in that building and working with our students. So positive talk for staff, very important as well, because if it begins with the staff, it will filter into the classroom down to the students. And then lastly, we're going to look at strategies. So don't want to leave this podcast without giving you some strategies in order to implement positive talk. Now, we talked about strategies throughout some of the discussion that we've had so far, but I want to give you some more concrete, and then some things that you want to keep in the forefront when you are trying to implement positive language, positive talk in your buildings. So we talked about daily affirmations, but make it a ritual. Make it so that you are doing this intentionally every day. Begin the class with a positive statement, whether it's about the work that the students did the day before, or whether it's about their behavior and how well they were from the day before. Or you may give, if it's Monday, you may go in and give a whole summation of how well the class did for the week, and then also pinpointing specifically how did the class do well. This is a time to spotlight some students. So some daily affirmations when it comes to the students, start the class with a positive statement. If you started with a positive statement, then Make sure you end the class on a positive statement, on a positive note. In your meetings, begin with good news, begin with celebrations of your staff, and then end those meetings with gratitude and how appreciative that you are as the leader in that building or as one of the leaders in that building, that you appreciate the work and sincerity. That's another piece to this. Positive talk is about being sincere. You cannot implement this if you are showing that it's false. You can't put up a facade and think that it works, because our children, they see, our children know who's really there for them, and our staff members as well. They know who's for them and who's against them. So don't put up a facade when you are implementing positive talk and making this a part of who you are. You have to be sincere. Refrain from challenges. So instead of saying this class never listens, you want to say this class is learning how to manage transitions. So it's a different way. Rephrase the challenge, rephrase whatever is going on, and taking out the negativity, taking out the negative words. And we talked about that earlier. So rephrase it, reframe the challenge so that you put it into positive language. The class can't do this, the class is learning to do, or the class will do with my help and with my support. And that also pertains to our adults. So if there is an area in which your staff, they can't see a way in which a particular project is going to be able to be done or completed by them, you change that around from the do nots or it can't happen to this will happen with the support of. Also, reminders. Constantly remind your staff and your class, reminding your students that positive language is what this classroom is about, is what this building is about. So that may mean putting those encouraging words around the walls, putting affirmations up. As the students are coming through the door, of affirming to them who they are. Good morning, my queen. Good morning, my king. Good morning, young gentleman. Good morning, young lady. Having that positive language and reminding those individuals who they are. You can also put reminders in newsletters. Every school traditionally has newsletters that are put out by the leaders or even by department chairs, and some teachers, they develop their own newsletters. Make sure to have positive language in those documents as well, so that when it's shared with parents, they see what's going on in the building and they can see and feel that positive energy from you. And then one of the most important elements to this positive talk, other than the sincerity piece, is also making sure that you are consistent. Positive talk is not a one-time thing. You can't just do it one time and think, oh, this fixes everything that's going wrong in my room. It's not. Positive talk, positive language, it's a culture. And in order for it to continue to be a part of that culture, it has to be sustained over time, which means you must consistently put this out in your life, in the atmosphere, in your classroom, in your district. Make sure that consistency is a part of your talk, your positive talk, your positive language. So, in closing, think about when we shift our language, we shift the culture. Every phrase of encouragement that we give to a student, when we say, I see you, I believe in you, I expect greatness from you. Every kind word that a colleague says to you or that you share with a colleague, you are valued. You know what? We are stronger together. That is the road to an effective classroom environment. So I want to thank you for joining me today on this journey again. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast. If you want to support the podcast, it's $3 a month if you subscribe. Of course, it's free to download any episode, but if you want to support the the podcast, you can subscribe for $3 a month. Share this episode as well as other episodes with fellow educators. Spread the word about the work that Dr. Lashawnte is doing on the road to an effective classroom environment. And then continue building your classrooms where positive talk fuels success for students and staff alike. Until next time, keep leading with encouragement. I am your host, Dr. Lashawnte. Have a great, great day.